The Central Intelligence Agency, based in Virginia with a $15 billion budget, collects global intelligence, conducts covert ops, and fights terrorism to protect US interests. However, its Special Activities Center has backed foreign groups, staged coups, and used torture. It has planned assassinations and terrorist attacks, often playing a central role in regime changes. During and after World War II, the CIA ran Operation Paperclip, relocating over 1,000 Nazi scientists to the US despite their war crime records. In Operation Bloodstone, it recruited Nazis and collaborators to form an international anti-Soviet network, funding covert operations including sabotage and psychological warfare inside Soviet-influenced territories. Major Cold War interventions included the 1953 Iran coup, 1954 Guatemala coup, 1961 Bay of Pigs invasion, and the 1973 Chile coup. Domestically, the CIA violated its foreign-only mandate with Operation Chaos, surveilling over 300,000 Americans, infiltrating civil rights and anti-war groups during the Vietnam War under suspicion of foreign communist influence. The infamous MK-Ultra program tested drugs and mind control techniques on unwitting subjects to develop interrogation tools involving psychological torture and unethical experimentation. The Phoenix program in Vietnam aimed to dismantle the Viet Cong using local paramilitary teams, leading to over 26,000 deaths. It was widely condemned for targeting civilians under the guise of counterinsurgency, with the CIA maintaining plausible deniability. In the 80s, the CIA backed Afghan Mujahideen and Nicaraguan Contras. Its activities have drawn heavy criticism for human rights abuses, political assassinations, propaganda, and domestic spying. The Mossad is Israel's national intelligence agency, formed in 1949. It handles intelligence gathering, covert operations, and counter-terrorism, answering directly to the Prime Minister. Mossad's budget is around $2.7 billion, with an estimated 7,000 employees, making it one of the largest espionage agencies. Mossad has shaped global events through targeted assassinations, sabotage, and surveillance. High-profile missions include the killings of an Iranian nuclear scientist, a Hezbollah commander, and Hamas leader Mahmoud al-Mabhouh in a Dubai hotel in 2010. Methods have ranged from exploding documents to poisoned toothpaste. In 1957, Mossad spy Wolfgang Lotz infiltrated Egypt, collecting intelligence on missile sites and targeting German scientists with letter bombs. A key moment was the 1960 capture of Adolf Eichmann, orchestrator of the Holocaust, who was abducted in Argentina and brought to Israel for trial. In 1963, it attempted to kill SS officer Hans Eisele with a mail bomb, but the device detonated prematurely, killing a postal worker. Mossad allegedly recruited Nazi officer Otto Skorzeny as an informant in the 1960s to access the Egyptian missile program, eventually forcing German scientists to abandon the project by 1965. It also assassinated Latvian Nazi Herbert Cukurs that same year. One notorious failure occurred in 1973 in Norway, where Mossad agents mistakenly killed an innocent man, sparking a diplomatic crisis. Further assassinations include Palestinian leaders Wadi Haddad, Khalil al-Wazir, and Mohammed Zouari in 2016. Mossad is also suspected in the 1990 killing of Gerald Bull in Brussels, an engineer aiding Iraq's supergun project. In September 2024, Mossad launched its most sophisticated strike, the Hezbollah pager attack. Israeli operatives created fake pagers identical to those sourced by Hezbollah from Taiwan, embedding explosives triggered by incoming messages. The remote detonation killed at least 39 people and injured many more, including civilians. 10 days later, Mossad coordinated a major airstrike on Hezbollah's underground Beirut HQ, killing Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah and 32 others, with 195 injured. Mossad's operations remain controversial due to their extrajudicial nature and civilian casualties. MI6, or the Secret Intelligence Service, was formed in 1909 and serves as the United Kingdom's foreign intelligence agency, coordinating with the Five Eyes Alliance. In World War I, MI6 focused on keeping Russia in the fight and aimed to install a pro-British regime by taking out Lenin. The plan failed, with agents arrested by the Cheka. But MI6 ran the 800-strong La Dame Blanche network in Belgium to monitor German troop movements, aiding Allied victories. Before World War II, the MI6 even collaborated with the Nazi secret police, the Gestapo, in an effort to counter the rise of communism. During World War II, MI6 wielded enormous influence through control of decrypted German communications derived from the Enigma cipher machine. The agency also maintained connections with anti-Nazi elements inside Germany, including Abwehr chief Wilhelm Canaris. However, in 1939, two of its agents were captured near the Dutch-German border in a German SD operation, compromising operations and giving the Nazis propaganda to justify the invasion of the Netherlands. Post-war, MI6 suffered severe setbacks from infiltration by Soviet double agents. Kim Philby, a Soviet mole, leaked British and American intelligence to the Soviets, derailing Operation Gold, a plan to tap into Soviet communication in Berlin using a tunnel. Philby's work allowed the KGB to counter nearly every British anti-Soviet operation during his tenure. During Operation Embarrass in 1947, MI6 sabotaged ships meant to carry Holocaust survivors to Palestine by staging attacks and blaming them on a fabricated Palestinian group. In 1953, it worked with the CIA to orchestrate the coup in Iran that overthrew Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, partly to protect British oil interests. During the Cold War, MI6 supported Mujahideen fighters against the Soviets in Afghanistan, supplying weapons and intelligence. Yet, the mysterious disappearance of diver Lionel Crabb during a reconnaissance mission in 1956 led to the resignation of MI6 director John Sinclair. In the years after 9/11, MI6 played an active role in the US-led global war on terror. Its officers operated in Afghanistan, bribing Taliban commanders and participating in the Tora Bora campaign. But the agency's reliance on CIA intelligence led to complicity in controversial practices, including torture and extraordinary rendition. Craig Murray, the British ambassador to Uzbekistan, was dismissed after criticizing MI6's acceptance of intelligence obtained through torture. Ahead of the 2003 Iraq War, MI6 was allegedly implicated in Operation Mass Appeal, a campaign accused of planting stories about weapons of mass destruction to help justify military action. In 2016, MI6 was involved in the Libyan conflict, negotiating weapons and training with anti-ISIS forces while facing backlash for its previous cooperation with the Gaddafi regime, including the rendition of regime opponents and intelligence sharing with Libyan authorities. The KGB, active from 1954 till 91, was the USSR's security, intelligence and secret police agency. It enforced Soviet ideology domestically, monitored citizens, crushed dissent and suppressed religious and nationalist movements while running a vast global espionage network. At its peak, it was the world's largest intelligence agency with thousands of operatives. After World War II, it recruited former German intelligence officers from the Abwehr to penetrate West German institutions, and it expanded further during the Cold War, planting spies across NATO countries. The KGB's text espionage was unmatched. From 1976 to 84, it planted listening devices in 16 IBM typewriters at the US Embassy in Moscow, stealing diplomatic secrets until detected. It also bombarded the embassy with low-level microwave radiation, allegedly to gather intelligence or harm the staff. The agency orchestrated brutal crackdowns on Soviet satellite states, manipulating intelligence to justify Red Army interventions in the 1956 Hungarian Revolution and 1968 Prague Spring, followed by tight surveillance of these populations. Later, Operation Storm saw KGB Spetsnaz assassinate Afghan leader Hafizullah Amin, accused of US ties, triggering the Soviet-Afghan War. This information was a KGB hallmark. Operation Infektion spread the false claim that the US created AIDS as a bioweapon, sowing global distrust. Operation Ryan, a paranoid intelligence-gathering effort, wrongly feared a NATO-first nuclear strike, nearly escalating Cold War tensions. The KGB matched the CIA in espionage, recruiting insiders like John Anthony Walker, a US Navy officer whose betrayal of naval codes gave the Soviets an edge for years during the Cold War. The KGB played a critical role in the internal power dynamics of the Soviet Union. It helped remove Nikita Khrushchev from power in 1964, then placed him under lifetime surveillance. When political tides shifted again in 1991, the then KGB chairman Vladimir Kryuchkov attempted a coup against Mikhail Gorbachev, which failed and accelerated the collapse of the Soviet regime and with it the end of the KGB. Its legacy endures in modern Russia, with the most prominent KGB agent being Vladimir Putin. The Federal Security Service has been Russia's security agency and the primary successor of the KGB since 1995. It holds considerable authority and answers directly to the president. In 2003, it extended its intelligence operations into former Soviet states. The FSB is notorious for suppressing Kremlin critics. In 2006, former FSB officer Alexander Litvinenko was poisoned with polonium, with a 2016 UK inquiry implicating the FSB. That same year, journalist Anna Politkovskaya, a vocal critic of Putin's Chechnya policies, was shot dead in her Moscow apartment, with suspicions pointing to FSB involvement. Litvinenko and several other authors claimed that the 1999 apartment bombings in Russian cities were orchestrated by the FSB as false flag attacks to justify a renewed war in Chechnya and elevate then Prime Minister Vladimir Putin's popularity ahead of elections. In 2002, FSB forces used knockout gas during a hostage crisis at a Moscow theater, leading to over 130 civilian deaths, most resulting from the gas rather than terrorist action. In 2004, during the Beslan school siege, the FSB led a military assault using heavy firepower, resulting in over 330 deaths, half of them children. Post-2014 Crimea annexation, the UN accused the FSB of orchestrating disappearances, torture and forced confessions targeting pro-Ukrainian activists. In 2020, FSB agents were implicated in the poisoning of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. The 2018 Skripal poisoning in the UK against a former Russian spy was also pinned on FSB operatives by British intelligence, escalating diplomatic tensions. During the 2022 invasion of Ukraine, FSB operatives conducted forced screenings of civilians involving beatings, interrogations, deportations and torture. The same year, the US accused the FSB of disrupting and spreading disinformation during the 2016 election. In 2024, the FSB was heavily criticized for ignoring intelligence warnings from both Iran and the United States ahead of the deadly Crocus City Hall attack. The Inter-Services Intelligence has served as Pakistan's intelligence agency since 1948. It draws personnel from the Army, Navy, Air Force and civilians. It functions independently and is often described as a state within a state, beyond control. During the Soviet-Afghan War, the ISI gained global prominence through Operation Cyclone, collaborating with the CIA and MI6 to train and fund Afghan Mujahideen. In the 90s, it strategically supported factions like the Taliban during Afghanistan's civil war. The ISI has faced accusations of arming separatist militants, using groups like Hizb Mujahideen and Jaish-e-Mohammed to wage proxy wars in Kashmir, drawing international condemnation. The ISI's alleged ties to Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden during the 80s Mujahideen era remain unproven but heavily scrutinized. Its links to the Haqqani network, notorious for global terror attacks, amplify its controversial reputation. The 2008 Mumbai attacks, killing 166, were linked to ISI-backed Lashkar-e-Taiba. The ISI is also allegedly involved in the support of separatist movements in China's Xinjiang province, resistance fighters in Central Asia and the Philippines, and the airlifting of weapons to Bosnian Muslims during the Balkan conflict. Funding for these operations has reportedly included drug trade. The ISI has also been linked to the support of radical groups in Tunisia and Egypt, plus the targeting of Pakistani dissidents abroad, with exiled journalists and activists facing threats, and some even turning up dead in Europe and Canada. Domestically, the now dormant political internal division of the ISI suppressed left-wing ideologies, manipulated elections, and neutralized any political threat to military dominance. This division has been accused of abductions, torture, and assassinations. The ISI's facilities have been bombed multiple times, a consequence of its complex entanglements with non-state militant groups. The General Directorate for External Security has served as France's intelligence agency since 1982 and has been involved in multiple scandals. Between the 70s and 80s, it reportedly infiltrated major American companies such as IBM and Texas Instruments for economic espionage. In 1979, under the codename Operation Kaban, its predecessor orchestrated a coup in the Central African Empire, deposing Emperor Jean Bedel Bokassa and installing a pro-French regime. One of the most notorious operations occurred in 1985 when its operatives sank the Greenpeace ship Rainbow Warrior in New Zealand, unintentionally killing a crew member. This act of state terrorism was intended to prevent protests against French nuclear testing in the Pacific. The fallout from the operation led to major international condemnation. During the Rwandan Civil War, the DGSE was allegedly involved in disinformation campaigns that distorted the nature of the conflict and portrayed it as a Ugandan invasion, laying the groundwork for increased French involvement. In the Kosovo War, the DGSE trained KLA separatists and allegedly participated directly in combat operations against Serbian forces. The Research and Analysis Wing, India's foreign intelligence agency since 1968, is known for its role in the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War, arming Mukti Bahini guerrillas to create Bangladesh from Pakistan. Collaborating with the CIA, it shaped South Asian geopolitics. Its fierce rivalry with Pakistan's ISI fuels accusations of proxy warfare, including alleged support for Baloch separatists and covert ops in Pakistan. In Sri Lanka, RAW trained LTTE militants but later aided the government in Operation Pawan. In Myanmar, Operation Leech saw the agency betray Kachin rebels, arresting leaders to curb arms smuggling. RAW intelligence also drove the 2019 Balakot airstrike against Pakistan-based terrorists, which was deemed highly controversial. RAW's alleged role in the 2023 killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar in Canada sparked diplomatic tensions. Internal scandals like ex-chief Ashok Chaturvedi's fund misuse add to its infamy. North Korea's Reconnaissance General Bureau, established in 2009, manages the regime's clandestine operations, primarily targeting Japan, South Korea, and the United States. It's most notorious for its cyber activities, including the 2014 Sony Pictures hack, where confidential company data was leaked, demanding the cancellation of The Interview, a satirical movie about Kim Jong-un. Threats of terrorist attacks led to the film's limited release. RGB also orchestrated the 2017 assassination of Kim Jong-nam, Kim Jong-un's exiled half-brother, using VX nerve gas in Malaysia, and attempted to assassinate Kim Han-sol, Jong-nam's eldest son, in Beijing that same year. The agency is tied to illicit operations like drug trafficking and counterfeiting and is believed to operate a cyber force of 6,000 skilled hackers for aggressive cyber warfare. The National Security Agency, part of the US Department of Defense, was formally established in 1952 by President Truman after originating as a World War II code-breaking unit. Known for mass data collection, the NSA conducts global surveillance and is capable of physically bugging electronic systems. It's widely believed to have developed the Stuxnet malware used to sabotage Iran's nuclear program, and it operates globally with the CIA via the Special Collection Service to plant eavesdropping devices in embassies and government buildings. The NSA was also criticized for contributing to flawed intelligence during the 1964 Gulf of Tonkin incident, helping escalate the Vietnam War. Echelon, a global surveillance program run by the NSA and Five Eyes allies, intercepted worldwide communications as early as the 70s. In 2013, Edward Snowden exposed the NSA's extensive surveillance of internet activity and mobile metadata of citizens worldwide, revealing programs like PRISM and sparking global outrage over its vast reach and secrecy. Die Abwehr was Nazi Germany's military intelligence agency from 1920 to 44. Created despite the Treaty of Versailles ban, it operated under the Ministry of Defense, later falling under Hitler's direct control in 1938. Led by Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, who turned against Hitler, the agency had internal anti-Nazi elements but was plagued by poor coordination, rivalry with the SS, and decentralization. Early operations included infiltrating Dutch resistance groups, collecting industrial intel on the US, and aiding invasions of Norway and Austria. However, the Abwehr often prioritized quantity over agent quality and had poor intelligence like inaccurate maps, leading to high failure rates and underestimating the Red Army. Notable failures include Operation Pastorius, US economic sabotage resulting in the execution of 6 Abwehr agents, and misjudged Allied movements in North Africa during Operation Torch. Though some Abwehr agents aided Jews, others, like Major Hans-Wolf Riesen, oversaw the execution of 1,200 civilians in Crimea or supported intelligence for Operation Tannenberg, the systematic identification and liquidation of the Polish elite. The agency's collapse began with betrayals, double agents, botched operations, and the defection of agent Erich Vermehren, culminating in its dissolution in 1944. Its functions were absorbed by the Reichssecurity Main Office under Walter Schellenberg, and Canaris was executed for his role in anti-Hitler plots.